Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Intel. It is time for another update, and for a while now we have been tracking this yellow area of support, levels from which we expected to continue to higher prices within wave 5. This has finally seen some materialization, although some issues start to become significantly more apparent in the case of this stock, as we have gotten a significantly larger wave 4 correction than we would have typically expected of such a structure. Why? Well, within the wave 2, we had a correction that spanned about 1 to 3 days depending on where I consider the wave 2 bottom, while within the yellow wave 4, this correction ended up spanning 4 entire weeks. This implies that this structure has become significantly less likely. Now, does this mean that this yellow count needs to be completely dismissed? Actually not, but it is a pretty great warning sign. It is something we need to be aware of because we actually do not have many interpretations in between the yellow count and the green scenario. Within the yellow count, we are actually tracking an extension of the green scenario, but in between those, we actually simply do not have that many options. And if we are to extend directly higher, I might have to accept that this yellow wave 4 simply took significantly more than we would have typically expected. Now, you may be wondering, why am I not tracking the green scenario then? Why do I not consider the wave 3 to have topped here? Well, the count would allow this to be a possibility. I could certainly consider something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Yeah, this would have been a very extended wave 5. And that's not the issue. But then I would expect a larger correction within this wave 4. I cannot consider this green wave 4 to have bottomed here, because having a correction in a wave 4 to be smaller, significantly smaller than the correction in a wave 2, is actually an even bigger issue than to have a wave 4 correction that is significantly larger than the correction in the wave 2. So in the green scenario, I would actually need to expect for this to be still part of the correction. I would need to expect for this to be something like a larger A, B, C structure, which would end up spanning towards the same time frame we've had within this as a wave 2, which has spanned about 2 months. So in the case of this green interpretation already having a top in, right? This is in the scenario of a failure for this yellow wave 5. I would be looking for a significantly larger correction. I would be watching the levels between $100.50 down to $73.50. And to be clear, we do not need to follow through within this green interpretation right now. Depending on the market conditions, we may still see the yellow structure succeed. In fact, I am still tracking this interpretation, especially as long as we manage to still hold the channel trend. We are so far doing that, and especially as long as we do not get a sustained break below this channel, I can continue to track continuation to higher prices, potentially within the yellow wave 5, potentially within a completely different structure, where we are perhaps not even building an impulse after all. Now, let's move into the smaller time frame to actually be able to identify some of the signs of this actually seeing a failure. So, within this structure, I am potentially even looking for a wave 1 to have built 5 waves up in this structure. I could track here something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Satisfying enough. It would have to consider a leading diagonal most likely, but it is good enough. Then I could be looking for this to have been an A, B, C structure. I could consider the wave 2 to have already bottomed. After all, it has even bounced off of the channel trend line. And we have seen a pretty substantial move up already. And this is where the tricky area starts to creep in. Within this structure, we have actually seen a higher high. I would typically consider that this could have been the wave 2 bottom, but then this could have also been an extension of the wave 1 and to look for a complete reset within this white wave 2. This would actually not be ideal. Within this correction, I do not want to see too large of a break of the channel trend line. If we happen to see that, it might be a pretty great warning sign that the yellow structure is starting to fail, that we need to be preparing for the larger A, B, C structure in green instead, where realistically I could consider to have the wave 1 of the wave C in place, to now be building a wave 2, and if we are to see the reset from these levels, well, it could be a wave C in the white wave 2, but what is stopping it from building a wave 3 within the green wave C, where I would see the $100 area very likely to be reached, get a wave 4 correction, and then a wave 5 to complete the green pattern instead. This would actually fit extremely well within the expectations of time frame for the green wave 4, because if I am to draw a line from the wave 1 top to the wave 2 bottom, so basically the entire length of this green wave 2, I would be looking for the wave 4 in green to actually complete around the 17th of July. Could be a bit longer, not really an issue, but this would actually be very much in line with the expectations of the green wave 4. Now, with all of that said, what am I looking for in the case of this stock? Well, let's remove some of the noise here. If I am to see a successful follow-through of the white structure, direct extensions to higher prices, I would have preferred for the wave 1 to have topped here, for the wave 2 to have potentially bottomed here, or to get a small reset within this wave 2, potentially within a running flat, potentially within an expanded flat. Let's say we get a quick move even below the 50% retracement here. That is a possibility. Or I get the wave 2 bottom here, and I'm looking for this to potentially be another wave 1 up, and now get a wave 2 correction where I would have the levels of support span to the 78.6% retracement of this entire structure up down to $123.3. This could end up being as part of a running flat where we have to reach that level. We also happen to reach the 38.2% retracement, levels from which we would see continuation directly to higher prices, getting at the same time a reset within this white wave 2. Very valid interpretation, especially as we would also still be holding the trend line we are tracking for this channel. So one thing to be clear, I can favor continuation to higher prices, especially as the trend line is still holding. The momentum would still be up, the potential would still be there, but if we start to see a deeper break into the area of support for this larger white wave 2, it is actually a very, very great warning signal that instead the green interpretation would be taking charge, that instead we are building this larger A, B, C pattern where I am still bullish on Intel, I am still looking for higher prices, but we would need to build a larger correction before we actually see that happen. So these are the warnings we see in the case of Intel. A full reset is still very much in play, with the only interesting opportunity right now being that the momentum is up, and if it can be kept up, there is also the chance that we extend directly higher, potentially within this yellow wave 5, potentially within a different pattern. And if this yellow wave 5 is to materialize, well, we could be looking at pretty high levels for Intel to reach, potentially reaching the upper boundary of this trend line. Yeah, actually quite common, possibly $200, $250 actually being a very realistic target. Now, the risk, yes, we still see potential continuation to lower prices, and I actually see even a potential initial 5V move to the downside. This is not necessarily a doom scenario because it could still build a larger A, B, C pattern that would still be within the bounds of even this internal area of support, but yes, we would need to watch out for the levels of resistance in the case of the currently available structure, going up to $139, and only with a sustained break above that do we actually get the stronger indication that a more substantial bottom would be in, and that we would be looking for the continuation to even higher prices. And we actually do have significant structural support at these levels as well, right? Between, what is this, like $139, $140 all the way up to $141. Pretty significant structural resistance area. But yeah, for now we will stop here. If you want even more from me, you can check out the Patreon. But other than that, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.